So, Bill, you've been in Kelowna for about 19 years now. 1999, I think, is when you came here. How did you get to Kelowna? Tell us that story.
Well, it was it was a little bit of a plan, actually. I was in the military for 20 years, hit my retirement years, and I've been doing Ironmans quite exclusively at that time. I was still running, but Ironman was sort of my poison of choice, and I had been to Penticton in 88 and 90 and decided that the Valley was where I wanted to wind up. So when I just decided to retire from serving the country and be in the military, I pointed it here and found a job that sort of fit my mold, what I like to do, and moved.
Right.
Lock, stock, and barrel.
Right. So you're in the military. I understand it's very rigorous, the initial training. Were you a person who was always in great physical shape, like as a kid and a teenager? Were you running in great physical shape? Or is this something that happened when you joined the military?
Yeah, well, the military is it's the great equalizer. So it takes everybody that is not in shape and puts them into particularly really good shape. And they do that systematically.
Right.
And that's a whole different story. But no, I've been running, so I'm 55 years old now, and I've been running for 45 of those 55 years. So in essence, I've been running my entire life. I was a premature kid, and I had hip dysplasia when I was born. My hips weren't formed properly, so I walked around in a double diaper and a knee brace for the first 2 years of my life. And my parents were told that I was probably never going to be very physically active and expect me not to walk well and not really to run or be active in sports. That kind of blew those doctors out of the water. So yeah, I met a gentleman by the name of John Delaney in middle school, and he saw that I could run. And I like to say I learned to run so I could stay away from the big kids, because I was a little guy. I graduated high school. I was 5'1" and weighed 100 pounds, dripping wet. Right? I was a year early graduating high school, and I said premature kid. And I'm still not a big guy by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I'm 149 and I'm 5'7.5" apparently, because I shrunk. So no, the military didn't get me in shape. Actually, the military slowed me down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you saying the training that they do in the military is kind of less than you are already accustomed to?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's different, right? So in the military, you have to be in shape to do longer hours, carry packs, carry weight, carry a rifle. Although I was an aircraft technician, I fixed airplanes for my time in the service. But first and foremost, you're a soldier. So they train you to be able to be awake for long periods of time, and they train you to be able to carry 55-pound rucksack over 11 or 12 miles, because that's, you know, a 17-pound weapon fully loaded. That's part of the job. You're forced to march everywhere. You're forced to do PT every day. I was running in basketball high tops in the military, and so it'd go from a track shoe, even 40 years ago now. Oh my God, 40 years ago, track shoe was pretty archaic, but it was still a much lighter, much more flexible shoe than a basketball high top of 40 years ago. So, you know, I was coming out of high school. I'd run a 402 mile, and when I finished military basic training, I couldn't run a 402 mile if my life depended on it. I was back to 430. Because they shorten your stride. Everybody, when you run with 120 men, you run at a 30-inch pace. When you walk at a 30-inch step. So everything's done on 30 inches. So it actually shortened my gait, which slowed me down from running into things. But that didn't last long.
Right.
Once you're out of basic training, then you're on to trades training, and then you learn your MOC, as it's called. So I learned how to fix airplanes. That's what I did for 20 years. Fixed or taught how to fix airplanes.
Right. So did you deal with airplanes after retiring from the military? Yeah. Or did you do something totally different?
No, when I retired, I got offered a job at Bombardier. I got offered a job at Mac Douglas down in the States. I got a job at Boeing. And I decided it was a conscious decision. I wanted nothing to do with airplanes. After being in this environment that was high stress, no budget constraints, fix the airplane, get it loaded, get it gone to war, I didn't want to go to take out a box to put people on a bus, basically, to take them across the country.
Right.
So it was a conscious decision, and I sort of fell into what I'm doing currently and what I did immediately post-military. And that was, I'd always had a job, because they moved me around a lot, I always had a job in a bar or in a restaurant, cooking or serving or pouring drinks, because it was the best way to meet people. You go to a new town every 18 months, you want to be able to meet the locals fast, so you have some group of friends to hang out with. So I had two ways to do that. One was running, so I met people at running clubs or at races that were local, and two was alcohol. Everybody enjoys a good beer, so I wound up in the restaurant industry because I'd been doing that as a part-time gig my whole military career. So I was in Vancouver when I retired, and a guy said, gentleman was looking for somebody with my skill set that could organize his kitchen for him. So I sort of gravitated to that and wound up working there in that place for, I don't know, 4 to 6 months, and then I did a little stint down in Penticton for 6 to 8 months and found out that Penticton was a pretty sleepy community during the winter, and it wasn't a lot of work, and then wound up Peachland, working for a good friend now, boss back then. Ran his place for, I don't know, 6, 8 months. And then there's a gentleman here in town by the name of Ernie Thatcher that was looking for a cook and a GM kind of guy, and I fit the mold, and I really wasn't interested in the job. I was tired, and I just wanted to relax and be a ski bum for a year. I didn't really need to work. And got convinced by a buddy to go meet Ernie, and him and I hit it off like two peas in a pod and started working for him, and thus become a Kelowna resident. I've been a Kelowna resident ever since.
You say that you're always seeking new ways to create great food for dietary concerns. Tell us a little bit about your diet. So you're still very active. You're 55 years old. You're still running all the time. Very physically active. I think you've got the energy of a 25-year-old. It's fair to say. So do you drink beer or hard liquor? And tell us a little bit about your diet, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, my diet's pretty... It was funny. Just last week... So I'm going to the National 5K in Toronto in October, and the room's been... I'm rooming with 3 other athletes, and the email I received was that they put us all into a suite so we could cook for ourselves, because athletes are stringent amongst their diets. I am not so stringent. I have some dietary concerns. I'm a celiac, so that means I don't eat wheat or any wheat or gluten products, so that's problematic when you eat out for a lot of places. And at 50, I found out that I didn't produce the enzyme anymore to break down lactose, so I'm also lactose dairy-free. So my diet is probably 95% plant-based now. I still eat meat, but not a lot. And owning my own restaurant here in town, we have probably 100 items on our menu, 30 of which are plant-based. And that's so that we can accommodate people like myself.
What's the name of your restaurant?
My restaurant's called EK's Grill. It's up in Glenmore. It's a 110-seat restaurant, and it's a family place. We're open breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We close at 8 o'clock every night. We serve a great glass of beer, some good wines. So, yes, I still drink beer, and my hard liquor of choice is Scotch. But yeah, I've got the energy level of a 25-year-old or younger. I like to say that the brain never forgets how to be that age, but the body very quickly does. So when you stop being active, it's very hard to get yourself relit and restarted. And from a running perspective, by the time I hit 40, I think I'd probably done everything that, as an athlete, an endurance athlete, that you'd want to do. I'd done 18 Ironmans. I'd done more marathons you could shake a stick at. I've run most of the major marathons in the world. I've done 10Ks and 5Ks. My My PB's below 30 for a 10K and below 16 for a 5K. I said I've done a 402 mile. There wasn't a lot left. I've done, a handful or more ultras, including the Canadian Death Race, which is 35,000 feet of ascending and descending over 125 kilometers in under 24 hours.
Wow.
And then along came this little thing called parkrun. And it's a way to give back to the running community. It's been a great part of my life. Mm-hmm. And I got parkrun going here in Canada, so that's that's another story that we can talk about. But parkrun is an amazing free timed 5K that brings it to the masses. It brings people from all walks of life, all shapes and sizes, all physical abilities, mental abilities, to a common place where they can partake in something that costs them nothing but their time.
Nice. And how often does that run in Kelowna? Is it once a year?
No. Parkrun runs every Saturday at 9 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So
it's 5K.
It's 5K. So it started in, Parkrun started in the UK 14 years ago. And coincidentally, that 14 years ago, I was starting to put on little 5K runs during the winter months here because there wasn't nothing happening during the winter months for a runner. And I did that for, 3 or 4 years. And then I wound up with a neurological disorder, so I had to take care of myself, and I had to let that drop. And then 4 years ago now, a friend of mine who I was in the military with found me through Facebook. Facebook's a wonderful thing that way. And she said to me, "You got to bring parkrun to Canada." And I went, "What's parkrun? Like, truly, what is it?" And she said, "Oh, it's a timed 5K." And I went, "Do you know how many 5Ks there are in Canada? What's so special about this?" So she said, "Well, Google it, take a look." So I did. And very quickly realized that the concept was unique amongst all events. First off, it's not a race, it's a run. Secondly, there's no cost involved to the participant. It's free. It's free to register. It costs you nothing but about 2 minutes of your time. You go to parkrun.ca/register and fill out 5 questions, basically. That gives you a barcode. And your barcode is your timing ID, for lack of better words. So you go to a event. I'll use the new Sunripe Marathon that happens here in town in October. You're going to go to a store that's a sponsor of the event, and you'll pick up a bib, and you'll pick up a timing chip, and then you'll go to the race start, and you'll check in with that bib and that timing strip, and you need to keep them with you at all times. You'll go across some timing mats. They'll tell people where you're at throughout the course of the event. You'll finish the event. You'll have to hand in your timing chip. You keep your bib. High stress for a lot of people. Parkrun's the antithesis of that. It's the complete opposite. So you print out your barcode and you show up. You run our 5K. You cross the finish line. We give you another little barcode tag that has your place on it. You go to our scanning table. We scan you out of the event. If you forget your barcode, we write your name down. Right. Not a big deal. After parkrun's over, I log onto my computer. I upload our little stopwatch that we've got. It uploads to the net, and I upload our barcodes that we've scanned. And you get an email from me that says, "Congratulations, you've just had a PB," or "This is your first parkrun. Welcome." Or "This is your 50th parkrun." When you break 50 parkruns, Parkrun Global, which is in the UK, sends you a T-shirt that says, "Congratulations, you've done 50 parkruns." Wow. When you break 100, they send you another one that says, "Congratulations, you've done 100." There are now people on this planet that have done 1,000 parkruns. Wow. So think about that for a second. That means you're doing a 5K every Saturday for about 12 years. Never missing a Saturday. Yeah. To do 1,000 parkruns. Amazing. We are at 100 and I think this was 105 today. Yeah. Parkruns here in Kelowna. Mm-hmm. We've got 2,000 people registered. I see 60 to 80 people every weekend. I see 2 to 3 tourists from across the globe. We had a guy today from Poland. We had a guy from the UK today, and we had a guy from New Zealand today, or a gal from New Zealand. Come to Kelowna for one reason only, to do parkrun.
Yeah.
And it's been this wonderful, fun, enjoyable experience bringing parkrun here. It's been probably the best sporting thing I've ever done,
Right.
bar none.
Nice. So that's 5K, and a person can go to parkrun.ca to get the details. Where does it start?
So parkrun here in Kelowna starts at Parkinson Rec Center.
Okay.
So we meet behind Parkinson Rec Center, right on the corner of Angel Way Trail and Rails for Trails. Mm-hmm. So if you're driving down Spall and look to your left as it crosses Clement, you'll see a big parkrun flag there every Saturday morning, and a Saucony flag, because Saucony now has come on board as a sponsor for parkrun to help support it financially. Because it is, like I say, it's free to the masses, but there is a cost involved, and it has to be borne by somebody. So I'm always searching for sponsors, right?
At what time does it start?
Starts at 9 every Saturday morning. And there's 17 now in Canada. So I opened the 17th one in Regina last weekend.
Right.
So there's 5 in BC. There's 10 more on the books to open in BC. There's 1 in Alberta. There's 3 more on the books to open in Alberta. There's obviously 1 in Saskatchewan now in Regina. There's 1 on the books to open in Winnipeg. There's 5 in Ontario with 8 on the books to open. There's 2 in Quebec with 3 more on the books there. And there's 4 in East Coast with 5 or 6 more on the books out there. So it's growing across the country, leaps and bounds in 2 years. We've only been live in Canada for 2 years. And people travel all over the planet to do parkrun. Like I said, we've had a guy, just think about this for a second. This is how screwy people are. So we had a guy start his day on a Saturday morning in New Zealand. Now in New Zealand they run at 7 o'clock. In the UK they're at 8 o'clock, and here in Canada we've made them at 9 o'clock. So we do them at 9 o'clock because during our winter months at least we've got a little bit of a little bit of warmth, right? And some sun. It's not dark. 7 o'clock in the morning in Kelowna, it would be dark and cold in December. So we start all ours at 9. So this gentleman started his day at 7 o'clock in New Zealand, did his park run, got himself to his airport, flew to Vancouver. We didn't have one in Vancouver at that point in time. Flew from Vancouver to Kelowna and did ours here in Kelowna. Why? So we could have 2 park runs on the same day. That's the only reason he did
Amazing.
it. So he came to visit Kelowna. He stayed here for a week, but that's why he did it. So he could do 2 park runs on the same day.
Right.
We've had people fly from the UK because they needed the O in the alphabet, because they're doing every letter in the alphabet. So they couldn't get, there's only 3 places you can get an O. Okanagan happens to be one of them, so they flew to Kelowna to get their O in their alphabet. So people travel.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's 4.8 million people now registered globally parkrun.
Right.
So it's a huge movement. Massive.
Right. I've run 1 marathon in my life, and I think 3 or 4 half marathons when I was a teenager, a long time ago. Now I walk about 3.5 kilometers every day. Would this be something safe for me to try, or should I try to get myself in better shape before running for 5K?
If you're walking 3.5K every day already, you could come do parkrun, not a problem. We have walkers every week. What happens, what I've noticed happen, is people will show up with the intent to walk, and they'll run the first 150 meters, then they'll get into their walking stride, and then they'll walk. And then they'll come back, because we do sort of 2 out and back. So you go through, leave our start area, you go out over top of the walkway that crosses Highway 97, or Harvey. And then you go back across it, and you come back through our start area, and you go down rails for trails. So there's lots of activity, and you see lots of people. So the walkers generally wind up walk-running. They do a little bit of run, they do a little bit of walk, they do a little bit of run, a little bit of walk. And ultimately they find a group of people that are at the same speed. And they get to, because they're at the same speed and it's not a race, it's a run or a walk, they talk a lot. And then they become friends. So then what happens is, I'm here this week because Joe is here, and if I'm not here, Joe's going to be upset at me.
Right.
Right? So then they go away for a week, and they may or may not come back. And if they don't come back, well, Joe's got their number. So Joe texts you and says, where were you?
Yeah.
Why didn't you join me? So they give you grief. So then you're back the third week. Right. So that sort of happens. And what winds up happening is people come because they've made a friend and the friend holds them accountable to being active.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing for both your mental well-being and your physical well-being. It's a great thing for our healthcare system. Mm-hmm. I've seen people, so Parkrun's now 2 years old, or be 2 years old next weekend, and I've seen a couple form, I've seen that couple have a child, all because of Parkrun. I've seen a couple came that were overweight, drop 100 pounds apiece, all because of Parkrun. So it's been this wonderful ride. I can't see. I look where triathlon was 20 years ago when I started, or 30 years ago when I started triathlon, and it was, you say you're a triathlete, and people go, "What's a triathlete?" Or I'm an Ironman, and say, "Well, what's an Ironman?" And so you tell them, and they go, "Yeah, never going to grow, not going to happen. Who's going to do that?" Right. To where triathlon is now. Mm-hmm. I can see that happening with Parkrun. And I can see it happening exponentially faster. Because if you look at triathlon, you can lay out some dough to become a triathlete. Mm-hmm. And you've got to be physically fit just to even go to a sprint. I mean, you're not going to go out and swim 500 meters, ride 15 kilometers, and run 5K if you don't have some fitness base. Right? So you're not going to, it's not something that if you're out of shape, you're going to say, I'm going to go to triathlon to get myself back into shape. Right? It might be an end goal. I'm going to get back in shape so I can do a triathlon, but it's not something you're going to say, I'm going to go do one to get in shape.
Right.
Parkrun is that. Parkrun is that I'm going to go do this every weekend so I can be in shape, so I can play with my kids or my grandkids, so I can do a triathlon, so I can have a longer, healthier, more stable life. And it costs you nothing. Right? I mean, everybody, show me one person on the planet that doesn't have a pair of runners.
Right.
My 80-year-old mother-in-law has a pair of runners. Right, and she runs around her complex, right? She's crazy like me, but that's fine. But so Parkrun, I think, will proliferate quite well.
Luke Mankus is a realtor with RE/MAX Kelowna. He loves what he does. We asked Luke if he had any regrets about moving here in 2011, and he always says, yeah, one regret, and that is he didn't move here sooner. When Luke came here, he didn't know anyone. He didn't know the neighborhoods or anything or anyone besides his daughter, who was 6 years old at the time. So he knows what it's like. Now, he's an expert and has helped well over 100 single people, couples, families, and investors with their real estate needs in the Okanagan. If you're new to our beautiful city, Luke can help you get connected with great lawyers, dentists, carpenters, landscapers, swimming pool installers, you name it. And whether you're new to Kelowna or not, Luke knows real estate. He can help you find a great property, negotiate a good deal, and hold your hand all the way through the process until the day you get your shiny new set of keys. Luke is known as a no-pressure kind of guy. He's had clients where it took even a year or more to get them into a property. He just doesn't believe in rushing things. On the other hand, when you decide it's time to act, he's diligent, and he'll work day and night until the job is done. Give Luke Mankus a call or a text message at any time. 778-215-4273. Again, that's 778-215-4273. 778-215-4273. To chat with Luke about real estate.
That positive peer pressure is great. I'm sure there's a group that run with you, and you're among the group that finishes first, right? Even though it's not a race, I mean, you're just trained to, or do you just kind of saunter along and talk with the slow people, or do you finish first? And tell us about that little group.
Yeah. Okay, so Parkrun is a run. It's not an event, but people are people, and I don't care who you are. Everybody's competitive.
Right.
So even within the group of slower individuals, they get competitive, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't run a lot of park runs here in town, so like I said, I think we're at 106 park runs next weekend. I think I've run 6, maybe 7.
You did this morning.
This morning I put it on every weekend, so I'm there every weekend.
Good answer.
Right, so I'm there every weekend, unless I'm racing elsewhere or if I've got something going on. or if I got to be back at my restaurant because I don't have a cook, I'm there every weekend. I'm sort of I'm the heartbeat, right? I'm the guy that I cheer everybody on. I don't care if you're first, last, third, eighth, fifth. I don't care if you're running 15 minutes or if you're running 55 minutes. I pump people. That's my job there, and I enjoy it. Right? I see people cross the finish line with smiles on their faces, and that is that's why I'm there.
Nice.
But I have run, I think, 6 or 7 park runs here. I've run a couple elsewhere when I'm not the guy in charge. Although when I was in Regina last weekend, I was the ambassador for park run. So every time we open a park run, we send an ambassador to make sure that the new crew knows what they're doing. They know how to do all the uploads. So just to give them a little more comfort. And they introduced me as the grandfather of Park Run Canada. Don't know how I felt about that, but I am a grandfather, so I guess I'm okay with it. But I got a chance to run that park run, and yes, I ran out front and flat out. Right. So, yeah, if you're a fast runner, you only know how to go one speed. It's really tough for a guy who runs fast to slow down and run slow. Right? Like, yeah. Unless you're in a training run, yeah, you get to an environment where there's a bunch of people around, you drop the hammer. That's just what you do. You've been doing it for a long time. Right?
Yeah. When I started running as a teenager, I remember at the start I would feel very nauseous, like I wanted to puke. And it went away after a while once I got trained and used to it. What if someone's going to do this run at 9 a.m., what do you recommend they eat in the morning, if anything? And at what time? Like, how much time should you leave between breakfast? And what's a good thing to have for breakfast so you've got some energy but not having digestive problems?
Well, that's kind of subjective. I mean, everybody's different. It is 9 o'clock in the morning, so if you're an early riser, you should have something in your system by 7, right?
So it 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah. And that's true of any physical activity. If you're gonna do something physical, elevate your heart rate, elevate your respiratory rate, you want to have most of that out of your stomach and into your digestive system within 2 hours, 90 minutes at the absolute latest. Mm-hmm. There's nothing special. If you're a person who eats cereal in the morning, have your bowl of cereal. If you're a person who has coffee and a muffin, do that. If you're a person who abstains from breakfast, which I think is the wrong thing to do, then abstain, right? Your body is used to going through its day with the way you're used to feeding it. As soon as you're trying to change that, you can wind up with more problems than good. As you get back into fitness, you're going to find that you need energy to be able to go out and go to the gym or go to park run or go out and do your bicycle ride or whatever you choose to do for fitness. And as you get back into that world, you'll need to figure out what fuels your system. Personally, I'm an oatmeal guy. That's what I do before a run, and lots of fluid. I'm also a coffee guy, so I'll have a cup of coffee in the morning, regardless of what's going on. As far as the puking state, that's just nerves, and that's where park run's completely different. So, and it always messes with my mind because I get there and I'll set up. And I'll be ready to go at 8:30, and there won't be another soul around, not a living soul. None of my volunteers will be there because it's completely run on volunteers. So if you're a runner at Park Run, I ask people to view Park Run from the other side of the coin and be a volunteer, right? So we have guys that have run 10 or 15, and they'll give me one day, and they'll volunteer one day. Nice. So when they volunteer, there may be a guy who is a timer, stopwatch, or there might be a scanner, or there might be a person hands out the finish tokens, or right. Yeah. All the jobs are easy. Nothing's tough. It takes an hour of your day, and you give back to the community that you've helped build. So they understand both sides of that coin. Park run, like I said, if you go, it's different. So 8:30 there'll be nobody there. I won't have a volunteer there. I won't have a runner there. By 8:15, all my volunteers will be there because they're nervous. They may be volunteering for the first time, so they want to make sure they know how to do their job. They don't want to screw it up for the other people who are going to do the event. But there'll still be only 2 or 3 runners. At 5 to 9, we start at 9. There'll be 10 people. At 2 minutes to 9, there'll be 80. Like, it's crazy how people flock to it all at the same time and at once. And everybody's ready to go at 9 o'clock because I'm pretty stringent. 9 o'clock start time, I start at 9.
Right.
I do a little pre-race. I thank the volunteers. I sort of give the lay of the land as to the way the course goes. I ask if they're new. I ask if there's tourists. And I say, 1, 2, 3, go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It doesn't take me long.
Yeah.
When you're a teenager and running, you go to a race, now there's all that pressure, right? So you've been, usually the day before, 2 days before, you've picked up your chip, you've picked up your number, you've had a chance to process it, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. You line up, there's 1,000 other people there, and they're all fitter than you, right? Because that's what your brain's saying. Everybody's going to kick my hiney, right? So now all those nerves come up, right? Because now you're measuring yourself about winning and about the time, and we all measure ourselves that way, right? And that's how a lot of people, that's how they prove that they're happy, right? Mm-hmm. If I run a 25-minute 5K, I'm going to be happy because I ran my 25-minute 5K. If I make $50,000 a year, I'm going to be happy because I made $50,000 a year. The problem is that's never finite, because as soon as you make $50K a year, you want to make 55. And as soon as you run 25 minutes, you want to run 24. And as soon as you climb that mountain, you want to climb something higher. So parkrun's different because what it does is it builds joy. Mm. And joy is not something that is finite. You don't get joy, is just joy, right? It happens because of everything around you, extraneous to the environment. And I think, and that's why I said earlier, it builds both physical health, but it builds mental health. Yeah. Because it's relying on that one key component, that word joy. And if we can learn to be joyous, happiness happens. Right? So if you're joyous about being out there and around the people that are competing or running or participating, it breeds smiles. Mm-hmm. And that's, for me, that's what this is about. Mm-hmm. That's what parkrun's about.
Well, Bill, when I read your bio, I thought you might be a little bit of an intimidating person. I mean, you've got a military background. You've done all these amazing physical feats. And I love what you just said about getting the joy out of physical fitness and the camaraderie of meeting people and stuff. Was there a point in your life when you made a mental transition from being like a regimented military guy and I've got to run this much and I've got to beat this time to, hey, we can really help a lot of people get into shape mentally and physically. And the parkrun is more of a fun thing and it's not a race. Was there something within you that shifted over time?
No, my military background's my military background. And my running, I was a runner before I was a military human. Right. Something shifted. I've always been this way. And it's funny, you read my bio and you thought I might be a bit of an intimidating guy. I can be an intimidating human being. Make no mistake about it. If I want to drive a point home, I'm pretty good at making myself.
Well, you're running a kitchen, so
yeah.
You've got to be.
I can be very. Yeah, I can be. I won't use the word what I can be, but I can be one for sure. But I've been running's been. It's been my life. So, and cooking has been the other side of my life. The military portion of my life is such a small spot because I was a military guy, but I fixed planes for a living. So, it's not like I was out shooting a gun all day long and having to be bigger and larger than life and, Rambo kind of guy. Right. That wasn't me.
But I mean, you don't get frustrated with people who are overweight and maybe walk the majority of this.
No, I don't get frustrated. To me, out there, seeing you get back across that 5K mark, crawling, with a smile on your face, I know you found joy. And anytime I can help somebody in their life find that feeling, because kids have that. Kids are happy all the time. Right? Kids are, unless they've hurt themselves or they've lost a toy or something along that nature, children are generally happy. It's not until we hit teenagehood that we start to measure ourselves against our peer group. And that then dictates whether we're happy or not. We've forgotten about the sheer joy of just being. And parkrun and running for me has always been just being. Like I've been a fast guy, and I've been one of those. I've been fortunate. I found something that made me joyous at a very young age, and lived my life down that road. It's been good. It's also been very bad, because I've done things that maybe I shouldn't have done because I wanted to go run. Right. I made some bad decisions financially because I'm going to go do this triathlon. Right. I can't afford it, but I'm going to go do it. No, there's really no shift involved. It's just I get dialed by watching people smile because I know that I'm a part of that. Right. I know I'm a part of their joy, and it has nothing to do with the time. It has nothing to do with the money. It has nothing to do with anything. The fact that they've just completed something that they may never have thought that they could do, walk or run. Right. There are people out there that say, "I'll never walk 5K."
Right.
So they do that the first time, and they get this big grin on the face, and they get me going, "Come on, you can make it. Keep coming. You're looking good." Yeah, they
love it.
They love it.
That's awesome.
So, Bill, I'd like you to nominate anyone in the city of Kelowna that you know or know about that you find to be a very interesting person and you would love to see come on the show in the future.
That's easy. Dean Mitchell.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Dean.
Dean is a registered nurse. He works with in the psychological field of nursing. He's been a triathlete for a lot of years. He's a runner. And he's just this really unique, interesting, fun human. Right? He's when you meet him, you'll understand why I nominate Dean. Yeah, great. Dean's a great guy.
Awesome.
And besides parkrun.ca, what's the best way for someone to reach you if they want to participate, maybe as a volunteer in the future? Do you have any social media?
So I can be found lots of places. So, yeah, social media. So Parkrun, obviously, if you Parkrun Okanagan, Facebook, Parkrun. I can be reached through my personal email, Wheels of Justus. My last name is Justus, so Justus at gmail.com.
Nice.
I can be reached at Okanagan office at parkrun.com. I can be reached by text at 250-448-8332. I don't mind if any of it or all of that gets out there. I've got a Twitter account. I've got an Instagram account, Run for Free.
Is that FOR free?
Yeah, FOR, run _ FOR _ free.
Okay, great.
And I can be reached at EK's Grill. So there's lots of places to get a hold. If you Google me, you'll find me. It's not hard, but the easiest way is probably Facebook. I respond quickly. So if somebody's looking for training advice or how to get involved in parkrun or whatever it is, I'm open to anybody contact me at any time.
Great.
Bill, thank you very much for your time and fascinating conversation. And I think I'm going to try out the parkrun next week.
Sounds good. Look forward to seeing you. Good to meet you.
You too.